The gaming industry has a troubling trend towards making games that look better than ever. You're thinking, well, that's a good thing, right? Well, is it? Let's get into it. So, gaming is about interactive entertainment. As the industry started, we basically played the game right from the start and continued playing the game. There were no cutscenes or stoppages, you just played. Think about games like Arkanoid or Pong or Pac-Man. You just had levels and kept playing. To make a game like that didn't take years either. Most of those were done in months. As the industry progressed, there's been an ever-present need to make games look more and more realistic. This adds time to development, but allows for cinematic experiences in games instead of just games. That's all well and good, but the question is, do we really need cinematic experiences? Isn't that, what the cinema is for? Movies, and to some degree TV series, are designed to tell a story that way. The point of video games is to have an interactive medium. What are the consequences to pushing for more cinematic experiences over just video games? Well, for one, development cycles are ridiculously long. Let's put this in context. Let's take the Lord of the Rings movies. There were 3 rather long movies that even had extended edition releases for home, but they were released a year apart, so 2 years to watch all 3. In other words, you watch the first one, you wait a year, watch the second, and wait a second year, and you get to watch the third and final movie. 2 years to watch the entire series. It took a couple of years of production work, so a total of around 4 to 5 years to make the whole thing. Okay, but that was the same actor, same producer, same director, and they all did all the acting in the same time and filmed everything. Okay, fine, whatever. Let's look at the Harry Potter movies. 8 movies released like clockwork every 18 months. Now imagine if instead of a year or 18 months, the gap was, say, 7 to 10 years between each one. What do you think about that? Does that seem like a good idea? 8 Harry Potter movies, 10 years apart, 80 years. Wow. That's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? Let's take that to TV. What if season 2 of a new series that you like takes 5 to 8 years to develop? And then you can watch season 2. Is that normal? Would you still be interested? We kind of see this thing with books. It can sometimes take a longer time, but even there, outside of George R.R. Martin, books in a series don't take decades between sequels. It's just not a thing. There's a practicality to this in that we just don't live forever, and waiting upwards of 60 to 80 years to finish something like the Harry Potter movies would just be absurd. However, in video games, this is where we are. Let's take a trip down memory lane, back to the 360 PS3 generation. In that 7-year generation, we had the entire Mass Effect trilogy, Borderlands 1, 2, and pre-sequel, Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and Judgment, Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo Reach, Halo ODST. We had Elder Scrolls 4, Fallout 3, and Elder Scrolls 5, all from the same studio. We had GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, and GTA 5, again, all from the same studio. We had Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, 4, Brotherhood, and Revelations. We had Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and The Last of Us, all from the same studio. There are many more examples like this, but this gives you an idea of what we were able to accomplish, what we were able to develop and release within a 7-year window. Starting with the Xbox One PS4 generation, this has essentially become impossible. The entire Xbox One PS4 gen, we had 0 Elder Scrolls games. We had 0 GTAs. We had 1 Halo. Yeah, you'll say Halo Infinite came out on Xbox One, but it came 1 year into the new generation. So I'm not counting that as part of the last gen. 2 Gears of War games, great. We had an Uncharted 4 and Last of Us 2 from that same studio. That's cool. We also had Lost Legacy, which was a nice little offshoot game. They basically took the Uncharted 4 engine and just added some story to it. It took a year from inception to release. Is that so terrible? Was that game that much worse? Could we not just do more of those? But that isn't what we get. We had to wait years and years and years to get Last of Us 2, which, yes, pushed graphical fidelity and every blade of grass is better, yay, whatever. Is that needed? If we push this further out, there's a new Mass Effect coming, Mass Effect 4. We don't know when it's coming out, because, of course, these games take forever to make. And we don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or just one game. Let's say it is a trilogy. Each, game in that trilogy takes, 6 to 8 years. 8 years. 16 years before you get the other two after this one comes out, which might take another, 3 years to come, before it's actually finally made and released. And it's been in the works for, a year or two? Really? Just think about that. 20 years? Really? Does that seem reasonable to you? Were the original Mass Effect games that much worse? Did they not tell a compelling story? Was the graphical fidelity so atrocious that you couldn't possibly play those games? No, there are, things that they could improve as far as gameplay. That's fair. And they did with the, re-release. They remastered it. They made some, good trade-offs there to make the gameplay better. I'm okay with that. A new version could have better gameplay elements. That's cool. But does it really need to take 2 decades to make that trilogy? But that's what we're headed towards. The next Elder Scrolls may not even come out during this current generation. Can you imagine? We might have to wait for the next generation before we even see another Elder Scrolls game. It's just so absurd. But that's where we are. GTA will be at least 10, if not very much more likely, 11, 12, 13 years from the last game. We did get a game in between with Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, I guess that's something. But seriously? One game a generation now? Really? Look, this all stems from the need to make every game graphically ridiculous. But is that needed? Do we also need 15-minute cutscenes? Can't the story be told while you're playing the game? Imagine if we could actually play the next Fallout game in a few years instead of 15 years, or maybe it's 10 from now. Are we happy with this? You'll say that we want the graphics. We want to be wowed by these games. But at what cost? The best game of the last generation is Breath of the Wild, a game that was made for the Wii U, though most played it on the Nintendo Switch. The game didn't need ridiculous graphics or 15-minute cutscenes. It told the story through the gameplay and left the player to determine the path they want to take. Is that kind of game not an option anymore? The graphics in the game have become so ridiculous that developers trolled us by putting in a damn photo mode in the bloody game. Yes, they seriously spent development time not making the game better, adding more story or game modes or gameplay elements. No. They put in a damn photo mode. Imagine if I bought a new car and it had a photo mode button. You push the photo mode button, the car stops, turns off, turns on flare lighting around the car, and you can get out of your car and take a picture. Does that sound rational to you? But this is an actual damn feature programmed into many games these days. It's crazy. Imagine if the original Halo trilogy was still in the works. We get Halo 1 at launch in 2001. It takes 8 years to get Halo 2. And Halo 3 comes out like Halo Infinite did, with delays finally coming out in 2021. Does that sound good? But this is where we are now. Halo Infinite is a 10-year game. We don't even know what that means. Is the next chapter in the Master Chief story coming in 2031? Really? Is this the video gaming world we want? I, for one, would rather have less graphical fidelity and more games in the series actually coming out, so I can play the damn games and advance the story. We're caught up in trying to make everything look as good as possible without asking, is this even the right thing to do? Advances in gameplay, level design, game loops, all good. Spending years to make the grass look good, water look realistic? Why? Does this fundamentally change the gameplay? Am I unable to play a game like Fallout New Vegas because the water doesn't look good? Well, what do you think about this? Are you happy with the trend of graphical showcases instead of more frequent game releases? Do you love the photo mode feature? Are you happy with a trilogy taking upwards of 2 decades to develop? Comment below. Please hit that like and subscribe buttons on your way out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.